Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Crimson and in this video we are going to be starting our look through of the art of Metal Gear Solid V, The Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid is tied with Halo as my favorite video game series of all time. Metal Gear is a game series that I grew up playing because up until I got into Halo, I was a PlayStation guy. So I had all of the early PlayStations, so Metal Gear was my go-to series. This is actually a art book, which I never thought I would actually own. This book goes for crazy amounts in terms of price for its resale, and I'm talking about in the thousands. However, I did manage to find a really good deal for it. It was not cheap by any means, but compared to some of the other prices that I saw, it was a steal, and I bought it basically instantly as soon as I saw it. So with me here is my little Venom Snake Nendoroid. I'm equipped with his cigar. He was featured in the part 1 of my Nendoroid showcase, and yeah, I just thought I'd include him to have for this video. So I have the collector's edition of this game, which came with the deleted chapter bit. It came with a little scale replica of Venom Snake's hand, and it came with this awesome Diamond Dogs leather case, so it's really cool. So I won't waste too much more time on the intro. We are going to go ahead and dive right into it, so let us begin. So, the art of Metal Gear Solid V, forward by Yoshi Shinakawa. We have two pictures here of Big Boss and Ocelot. This looks like when they first arrive in Afghanistan at the very start of the game. Sorry, let me zoom out a little bit, just so you guys can see, sorry. So we have our table of contents as well as people who made the books and were part of the art team design for the game. So, the art of Metal Gear Solid V Ground Zeroes. Oh, I forgot to mention in the start, this book also contains art for Metal Gear Ground Zeroes as well, apart from The Phantom Pain, which is really cool. I know Ground Zeroes was a very a game that caused a lot of controversy in the fandom, but I personally loved it despite it being very short and very sweet. It was annoying to play and then having to wait years to for the Phantom Pain to come out, but now that both of them are out, if you play Ground Zeroes and then go straight into the Phantom Pain, it's like an amazing little prologue to the main game. So here is, I believe this is either the box art or the art that is shown on the storefront when you go to buy the game. So we have Big Boss here and Kazuhira Miller. Miller is returning from Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Peace Walker is probably my favorite Metal Gear Solid game. You can judge me for that, but I personally love Peace Walker. We have a black and white picture of the boss and all that. And then we have this picture here, which is very in line with the typical Metal Gear artwork that I'm sure if you guys are familiar with the series, you know all about it. So we have the boss here, kind of in this very grim expression with all in black and white, with some kind of aircraft here, and Mother Base in the background. It looks like Mother Base is burning a little bit, so Actually, no, this is part of the ground zero, so it's not burning just yet. Keyword is yet. Sorry, did I skip the page? Yes, I did. So, another picture here of the boss, and then here we have the boss with some characters in the background. These look like, at this point, this would be MSF soldiers. So MSF was the precursor PMC that the boss made before Diamond Dogs. However, it ended up getting ruined. Also, I just want to quickly say that Big Boss is a character that I relate to a lot, and is part of the reason why he's one of my favorite characters in media of all time, just because I really like one-eyed characters based on how I can relate to it. And also, he is one of the only characters in a lot of media who actually lost his right eye. A lot of characters that you see in, movies, games, anime, always end up losing their left eye, whereas Big Boss and I believe Majima Goro from the Yakuza series are the only two that I know who have lost their right eye, which is the eye that I lost. So that's part of the reason why I love the boss so much. Also, I have the boss's haircut in real life. Just a little bit about me. So if only I could grow some facial hair, then I would literally be, Big Boss would be literally me. So here is some pictures of the boss himself. A lot of the text here is in Japanese, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to read too much of it. However, there is some English in here as well. So on our left we have a drawing of the boss, showing him in his sneaking suit. Really cool. He still has the bandana from Metal Gear Solid 3. And then him, this is how he appears in the game. This is the 3D render of the boss that we find in Metal Gear at Ground Zeroes. Here is Kazuhira Miller, another one of my favorite characters in the Metal Gear series. So here's another concept art or drawing of Miller. He looks like he has been through the ringer in this image. His hands are covered in blood, there's stains all over his uniform, there's dirt on his face, and all that. So Miller always wears sunglasses, which is really cool, and Miller is actually the reason I first bought my first pair of aviators, just because I thought that he's so cool and I wanted to kind of look like him. Yeah, you guys are gonna be dealing with a lot of me fanboying over Metal Gear in this video. I do apologize. I'll try and keep it to a minimum. So here we have another picture of Miller. This one he looks a lot angrier, like he's in battle. This looks like maybe this has taken place during the fall of MSF when Mother Base is attacked by XOF. So here we have two characters from both Ground Zeroes, but both of these characters first appear in Peace Walker. So here we have Paz, who was a character, one of the main characters, or at least one of the main supporting characters from Peace Walker, and her little brother Chico. So at the start of at the end of Peace Walker, Paz steals the Metal Gear and tries to attack Mother Base, but we end up defeating her, and she is flung into the ocean. And that is the last time that we see Chico or Paz. Then at the start of Ground Zero, we are informed that the PMC XOF has kidnapped both of them and is interrogating them, which is odd because Paz, I'm not sure if Chico is, but Paz definitely is an XOF agent, so it kind of raises the question of why are they capturing and torturing one of their own agents. We can see here that this is Paz in her prisoner uniform. In Peace Walker, she has these like very flowing curly blonde hair, whereas here, since she's been taken prisoner, her head has been shaved and she is covered in bruises. So we see that Paz has chains on her ankles in this picture, and this is one of the incisions that they made where they inserted one of the bombs. The other bomb they put in her uterus. However, the boss and Miller do not realize that until it is too late. For Chico, we see that instead of having a traditional chain hand or like ankle handcuffs, he has these two metal spikes kind of implanted or drilled into his ankles, which would cause walking to be an agony. So when we rescue Chico in Ground Zeroes, we have to carry him to the evac chopper because due to these, he is unable to walk. Chico in Peace Walker is a very, good-spirited, full-of-life young man. I believe he's maybe like 13 or 14. But as you can see here, this is him also after he's been taken prisoner. And he looks a lot older despite not that much time taking place. So it just kind of shows the effects that the torture has had on him. Again, his uniform and his clothes are all dirty. His hair is a lot shorter than it was, and yeah. So here are some of the characters that we see. So this is the Camp Omega prisoners. We find multiple prisoners in the site as we are infiltrating it. However, we are only there for Paz and Chico. We are not there for these guys. I believe that it is, that Camp Omega is meant to be the Metal Gear version of Guantanamo Bay, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So here is a US Marine. So these are one of the enemies that we fight, can fight in Ground Zeroes because they are the ones occupying the base. And here we have the Mother Base helicopter crew. So as you can see, they have their helmets on, they have their headsets on. This guy here has like a little canteen, and on their back you can see that at this point they still have the MSF logo on them instead of the Diamond Dogs logo. So here is some more concept art of the US Marines that we encounter. During the Ground Zeroes mission, it is nighttime and it is raining heavily. So all of the not all of the soldiers, but most of the soldiers would be wearing this kind of attire to keep themselves dry. Here is one of the different enemy types that we see. This is part of like one of the mini games in Ground Zeroes. This is one of the Snatcher enemies. These are aliens. I do not believe these guys are actually canon. I think they were just thrown in as like a fun little enemy to fight in some of the mini games, but nonetheless they are very cool, and seeing the artwork of them is even cooler. To me, they look a lot, apart from the face, they look a lot like the hollows from Dark Souls. So next up is the locations of Ground Zeroes. So here are some locations. So this is Camp Omega, or Omega Camp, as seen from above. Snake enters this area through crawling up one of the cliffside, and if I say snake, I mean Naked Snake, aka Big Boss. I know a lot of people in the fandom, and it's become a meme about people not being able to tell the difference between, you know, Solid Snake and Big Boss. So if I say Snake, I mean Naked Snake. Don't worry, guys. I know. And every time I see that, I just think of that one scene from NGS2 where he's like, no, that's not Solid Snake. It's so funny. Here is a more illustrated version of the base, which is really, really cool. Seeing the base overhead like this, I know you see it overhead when you use your iDroid in the game, but seeing it like this, kind of as if it was a real compound, is just even cooler. So here is some of the base screen or art from the actual mission. So we have some of these soldiers, I'm assuming kind of on patrol in the base. Some of them are just in their normal gear, whereas these two guys are in raincoats. It is an absolutely awful night. It's windy, it's rainy, but the boss is absolutely fine with all that. He does not care. So this is him kind of sneaking around. I believe this is him sneaking around a rock side and him at a fence, trying to dodge this man with his flashlight. And then this is the boss looking out to the base from a safe distance. This is how, one of the ways that we can, I believe this is the extraction zone. This is either the extraction zone or how the boss gets into the base itself. The extraction zone is this kind of little nook in the cliffside which you call your chopper in, and you essentially just hurl Chico bodily into it, and same with Paz, and or anyone else you decide to bring along. I think you actually can rescue some of the other prisoners. I believe that's an optional objective, but you don't have to, but it's always cool to go back. Here's some more pictures of the base. So this is a lot more lit up due to the spotlight. So we have the boss here. Sorry, let me just move the book a little bit so you guys can see. So we have the boss crouching behind some sandbags with a soldier with his back turned, shining his light over the barbed wire. This is a hand-drawn picture of what appears to be the barracks for the soldiers, which are just in tents, and these look like outhouses here. I can only imagine how cold it must be in these tents during this kind of weather. And then here we just have some more pictures of the rain and the base. There's a jeep driving around here, and yeah. This is quite a large book, so in terms of the environments, I am going to try and go as fast as I can, but at the same time, I'm not going to skip out on any details. So this is one of the choppers. I believe that this is our extraction chopper, or at least one of them is. This might be one of the XOF choppers, but I don't see the XOF logo on it. Which is interesting. Here's another picture of the base with a helicopter. This helicopter is obviously part of the base, so I'm assuming this is actually their helicopter, not MSF's chopper, as this one has landed and it looks very, very similar. Here's some more pictures of the base. This looks like some of the inside, where we have some of the cots that people are laying on. Either that, or this is like a morgue. A picture of some of the gates. These are the cells that have the prisoners in them. So despite these horrific weather conditions, these people are being kept out in the freezing cold and damp weather. So we have a soldier here standing guard, and then we also have a man here, kind of barely in the frame, but he has half his face on there and a hat. Some more pictures of the base itself. Sorry, different parts of the base. Here is one of the armored vehicles driving around. This is one of the vehicles that is on patrol, so you have to be very, very careful that this does not see you. And if you do raise the alarm and this thing finds you, you are in so much trouble. Another picture of some of the base's structures with hand-drawn pictures. Here we have some soldiers looking around. These guys look like they have been alerted based on their posture and how they are holding their guns. They look like they're searching. Here's a barricade, not anything special, but this is something that you will get very accustomed to seeing the side of if you are crouching. Oh, sorry, not crouching, going prone. So here is inside of the base. So there's still rain coming in, and it's still very, very cold. So these two soldiers have their rain gear on. Down here is where we find paths, which is interesting because all of the other prisoners, Chico included, who was captured with Paz, he is being kept in the cells that we just saw outside, which are the standard prisoner cells, whereas Paz is being kept indoors and is actually chained, or her arms are chained to the ceiling, whereas Chico isn't chained. He has those metal things in his ankle, but he's not actually chained. So it's kind of interesting. It's like, again, why is XOF treating one of their own agents so poorly? And we find out why later. So here's some more pictures of the base here itself. Really, really cool. I believe that this is the insignia for the base, and it is in South Cuban coast. So that's why I believe that this is supposed to be Guantanamo Bay in the Metal Gear universe. Here we have some pictures of Mother Base. So again, this is the MSF Mother Base, very similar in construction to the Mother Base in the Phantom Pain. We see different platforms here. We see this kind of tower platform. These are some more hand-drawn pictures of some of the different architecture. If you have played Metal Gear Solid The Phantom Pain and you really like the base building aspect of the game, Peace Walker has the same thing, but to a much lesser degree. Peace Walker used to be available on PS Now, which is essentially a streaming service that you could play PlayStation games on your PC. However, that has since been removed, so that was the second version I played. I played the original version on my PSP, and I still have it. I'm hoping in the next Metal Gear Solid HD collection that they release that Peace Walker is included in it. Peace Walker also has the Fulton extraction system. So, I know it's not chronological. Oh, sorry, I know it's not the official game order release, but Ground Zeroes and The Phantom Pain are almost the direct sequels to Peace Walker. So here is some more pictures of some of the structures in Mother Base and some of the different layouts of the compounds. So here is the boss. It appears that he is in a chopper right now, and he is witnessing the destruction of Mother Base in the distance. You can see the smoke. You can see one of the platforms as being sunken. And then this is him later on coming and seeing how it is so badly destroyed. This is the top of the helicopter here. And also, just quickly, I wanted to say, I know I've mentioned Peace Walker about like 10 times, even though we're only like 9 pages into the book. There is a Peace Walker Artbook, and I am planning on buying that one next month. However, it is quite expensive. All of the Metal Gear art books are very, very expensive, unfortunately. So this is the boss when he returns to Mother Base and seeing that it is under attack. So he jumps out of the helicopter and begins firing. All of the soldiers nearby start to run towards the evac chopper, and you can see that it is burning down here. This looks like a man kind of helping another man to walk. I believe this might be the boss and Miller, as when we find Miller during the attack on Mother Base, he is alive, but he is extremely wounded. And in the end, out of all of the soldiers in Mother Base, only the boss, Miller, and 2 soldiers that just happened to get in the chopper in time survive. Everyone else is killed, which is very, very sad, especially if you have spent hours in Peace Walker building your base. It was definitely a big gut punch for me, having spent hours on hours perfecting my Mother Base in a Mother Base and staff in Peace Walker, and then having it destroyed right before my eyes. And all I was just thinking of was like, no, all my men with really good stats, they're gone. So next up is the interface section. I don't know what that means, but it is interesting. So it says Metal Gear Solid V backstory. These backstory title cards explore the complex history that led Snake, aka Big Boss, to Camp Omega. So this just kind of shows a bit of what happened in Peace Walker. We see that Miller is working with the boss. They get recruited by a professor who tricks MSF into working for him. We have Paz here. This is Paz. I don't know if you can see her here, but this is what she looks like in Peace Walker. You know, she looks like a very, cute anime type schoolgirl. She has the schoolgirl uniform. She has the, bright blonde long hair and all that. So seeing the state she's in Ground Zeroes is very, very sad. And then this is just like a quick little recap of the events of Peace Walker. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. We will talk about this stuff once we get the Peace Walker art book. So this is screenshots from in the game. So this is where we first see the boss's face, where he reveals himself after taking off his glasses as he is about to infiltrate Camp Omega, and he says the famous line, "Kept you waiting, huh?" That is a phrase that I say way too often in real life, and no one gets the reference, which is a tragedy. Here is Chico. These are some of the cages that we find here. This is Chico just kind of sitting in the cell. He's looking at the man next to him who appears to be dead, if not extremely emaciated. Picture of Chico here. And this is some of the art of the boss's CQC and combat tactics. So we have him prone, crouched, standing. We have a soldier pointing a gun at him, and then how he's able to grab him with CQC, twist him around, and you have the option of either choking him out, knocking him unconscious, slitting his throat, or body slamming him to the ground. The body slam knocks them out as well, but it creates a lot of noise, so it's up to you what you like to do. Here's some more pictures. You see the boss holding his knife, and then we have the boss holding what looks like an FAL, I believe, kind of pointing at the an enemy soldier. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I play any game in the Metal Gear Solid series, except for Metal Gear Solid 1, because there's no option to, I always go for non-lethal. I have beaten every single game multiple times in non-lethal. So no kills and anything like that. Some of the bits are very difficult, and there is a way to defeat bosses non-lethally. While technically it still shows you killing them, the bosses, they started this in Metal Gear Solid 2, where if you use non-lethal weapons such as the trank gun, that affects one of their health bars. They have their health bar for non-lethal attacks and the health bar for lethal attacks. The lethal attacks make the game much easier, obviously. You don't have to worry about enemies waking up or, coming back into consciousness. But to me, it's just my favorite way to play. I find it so much fun. And what I love about Metal Gear is that, yes, it is a stealth game, but if you want to go in guns blazing, if you want to wear the heaviest armor, bring loads of grenades, bring a light machine gun, and just light everyone up in your sight, that's completely fine too, which is so cool. A lot of stealth games, if you get detected or you fail to be quiet, it kind of resets the mission. Where Metal Gear Solid gives you the choice, where it's like, hey, this is a stealth game. However, play the game however you like, which is just so cool. So here is a picture of the boss, again in the black and white style. So we have him, we have his eye patch, we have his hair and his bandana. Like I said, I have the boss's haircut, at least the Metal Gear Solid V haircut of the long brown hair in a kind of ponytail. So yeah, I'm like Big Boss. If Big Boss weighed a fraction of what he weighed in real life, not in real life, sorry, in the game. I wish Big Boss existed in real life. Okay, so I believe that is the end of the Ground Zeroes section. So next up is the Art of Metal Gear Solid V, the Phantom Pain. Also, I just want to say, the reason I say Metal Gear Solid V is the game is actually called Metal Gear Solid V. Kojima-san did confirm this. I know a lot of people say Metal Gear Solid 5, but it is Metal Gear Solid V, based on you playing as Venom Snake. So the V stands for Venom, and it's kind of like a play. It's V for Venom, but also V for 5, but it is Metal Gear Solid V. Promotional art. Okay, so here we have the boss, or Venom Snake, as we will be calling him from now on, and Quiet. So these are two characters that you can, Quiet is a character that you can meet and recruit. I'll talk about her in a second, but we have the boss, sorry, not the boss, we have Venom Snake here with his piece of shrapnel in his head. Quiet is sorry, hold on, let me just quickly have a look to see if it mentions Quiet anywhere else. I'm trying to, okay, I'll quickly describe Quiet here. So Quiet is starts off as an XOF assassin, and at the start of Metal Gear Solid V, she is the one who is sent to kill Big Boss in his hospital bed. So that woman that you see that Ishmael sets on fire and then throws out of the window, that is Quiet. She is infected with something that we will talk about much later, but she has a very half-naked look to her, which a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of. But the whole reason for this is that she is able to photosynthesize. So wearing clothes makes it so essentially that she can't breathe. There is actually an unlockable costume or outfit for Quiet if you increase her body rank a lot, which has her in a proper Diamond Dogs uniform, and I always prefer that to her standard type. I always like seeing female soldiers in any game really in actual realistic armor that a soldier would wear versus being half naked for fan service. I think she looks a lot better covered up in her flak jacket and BDUs, but I believe I'm in the vast majority of that. But that's just me. Here is another great picture of Venom Snake. So we have him, we have the scars that he maintained due to the explosion in the helicopter, and this is the robotic arm. So it didn't cover it in the Ground Zeroes part, but at the end of Ground Zeroes, we bring Paz back to the helicopter and we extract her, and then we head back to Mother Base to find it under attack and being destroyed, and we rescue Miller. So after we escape Mother Base, Paz comes, she regains consciousness, and she's like, oh my god, there's a bomb inside me. So they cut it out of her with no anesthesia, and she passes out again. And then she wakes up, and she's like, oh my god, there's a bomb inside me. And Miller and the boss and the medic and the other soldier in the chopper, and including the pilot, are like, hey, calm down, don't worry, we got rid of the explosive, it's safe. And Paz is like, no, there's another bomb in my, and she never actually says what it is, and then she jumps out of the helicopter to try and save them. But it ends up being too late, and they get hit by the explosion. As I said earlier, the other bomb was in her uterus, because Skullface thought that would be somewhere where the boss would not think to look, and it ended up working. So that was the end of Paz, and she deserved so much better than what she deserved. So here's another picture of the boss holding a pistol. This looks to be the non-lethal pistol, the tranquilizer gun. I apologize if I mispronounced that. I am unable to say that word for some reason. Tranquilizer. Feel free to flame me in the comments, I know. Here is Quiet as she appears in the game. As you can see, she's very half-naked, scantily clad, whatever you would like to see. And while there is a low reason, it's flimsy. I like her when she's covered up and actually looks like a soldier. Here's a great picture here of this should actually be some of the, actually yeah, no, this is a promotional art. I forgot that this is the promotional art section. So we have a portrait view of the boss, Venom Snake, with the scars from the helicopter incident with his eye patch and the big red V coming out. Over here we have two more concept arts of Quiet, again wearing very little. Quiet is an extremely skilled sniper, like unbelievably skilled. So she is a very important asset, despite Miller and most of Mother Base thinking she's a spy. And then here we have the boss again, kind of crouched down, As you can see here, this is with the Phantom Pain, so MSF no longer exists. So this is the new PMC Diamond Dogs that was founded by Miller. Between the events of Metal Gear Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain, 9 years have passed due to Venom Snake being in a coma. So Miller was able to found his own new PMC. I hope there's a picture of Miller coming up soon. So here we have a couple different characters. So actually we only have 2 characters, sorry. So again, we have the boss with the DD for Diamond Dogs, and we have Quiet. Here we have Sahelanthropus. So Sahelanthropus is this game's version of a Metal Gear. While not officially a Metal Gear, this was kind of a Metal Gear equivalent of the time. And because I believe Metal Gear Solid V takes place in the 80s, I think. But yeah, while not being a Metal Gear itself, it is an extremely dangerous weapon and is able to cause so much damage. It is unbelievable. Okay, so characters. So here is some different concept art of the boss. So this is how we see Venom Snake in the game. Here is some concept art of him. He has a little bit of tidier hair here and a red arm. We see some more different types of art for him. Various clothing designs from different color BDUs to his side cape to his sneaking suit. Also, just before we continue, if I do keep either saying Venom Snake or boss, I'll explain why in the or near the end of the book, but just for now, think of them as the same person. I keep feeling like I'm skipping pages. I don't know why. So here we have the boss from the back. As you can see, he has his knife in all of them and in different states of his gear. So this is him lightly geared up. This is like mid gear, and this is him in full gear. I absolutely love this little shawl that he wears. This is a picture of the boss here. He looks a lot older in this picture, and same with these. This is a picture of boss shirtless, which looks pretty cool. Same kind of details on him. He looks very haggard and tired after all that he's been through. So here is the boss in the sneaking suit. The sneaking suit is one of the optional clothing items that you can choose. Before you drop into every mission in Metal Gear Solid, you were able to choose what outfit you wear based on the terrain camo. So, for example, if you're in Afghanistan, you might want some sandy camo, whereas if you're in Africa, you might want some jungle camo, or if you're in an military base, you might want some, gray or black camo. But the sneaking suit is essentially a must-wear for all non-lethal players, myself included. This is boss in the heavy gear set. As I believe here he is holding one of the pistols, whereas here he is holding a light machine gun. So this version of the boss has no intention of stealth. He is going in guns blazing. What's cool is that the different weights of the clothing that you choose impacts how fast you move and impacts how quickly enemies can spot you. So, for example, if you are crawling around in the sneak suit, it is very difficult for enemies to detect you. Whereas if you are crawling around in a flak jacket, you will be seen very, very, very quickly. So here we have some soldiers. So this is of the Parasite unit. They are a elite unit of XOF and are absolutely terrifying the first time we encounter them. They kind of corrupt and turn all of the other soldiers in the area into almost like zombies. We have the leather jacket of Snake with his motorbike. This is him in one of the final cutscenes for the true ending of the game. Again, a picture of Venom Snake here. And then here we have his arm. So this is the arm that we start off with, the red arm. Whereas these arms are all different unlocks you can get, and all of them provide different abilities. So some of them can be used to make noise to draw enemies to your location. Some of them can be used to electric shock an enemy, causing them to become unconscious. Some of them can be sent out as like a little rocket that can, you know, smash people in the face and knocking them out, which is so funny. Here are some of the gadgets that, another gear that the boss carries. So we have his watch, his cassette player, because remember this is the 80s, so cassette players are like brand new. We have his knife. This is actually very similar to a knife that I own. It does not have the circle here, but apart from that, it is almost identical. I'm not going to put a picture of my knife up because I don't want to accidentally get flagged. But yeah, very cool. So, some more concept art pictures here. So, this is some more pictures of the boss in various states of undress. This is him after waking up from the hospital. This is again the boss here. This is the boss after he has been woken up from his coma, and he is in an absolutely awful state. Here's another picture of the boss here. Here we have Ishmael. So Ishmael has been lying in the hospital bed next to Venom Snake for the last 9 years, and is a very mysterious character. And when we wake up, he essentially helps us to escape. We are unable to walk because all of our muscles are atrophied, but he gives us a little pick-me-up, as he calls it. What is interesting is Ishmael sounds a lot like the boss, which is kind of curious. Also, I hope I don't get flagged for showing a little bit of Ishmael's bum. I might end up censoring this just in case, but yeah. Here is Revolver Ocelot. So at this point, Revolver Ocelot is working with Venom Snake and Miller while he follows Big Boss as a leader. He tolerates Miller. They are comrades, but they are not friends. And they have a very in-depth history going back, so they do not like each other one bit. Here are some more pictures of different characters. I actually can't remember who these guys are. If you know, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, let's move on. Ocelot is also known as Revolver Ocelot, as he always favors his revolver and is known for spinning them out of control. And it was actually Venom Snake in Metal Gear Solid 3 which convinced him to use a revolver. Because at the beginning he was using a Makarov, and Snake was like, hey, if you want to twist your gun and be like a gunslinger, you gotta use a revolver, kid. And he took that to heart. Also, I believe that Ocelot is the only character which appears in every single Metal Gear game. Or, I'm not sure if he appears in Peace Walker, but he's in at least most of the games and is probably the most common reoccurring character in the series. So here we have Miller. So this is after the helicopter crash. So, while Miller got off of the crash relatively scot-free, the forces of that are occupying the country of Afghanistan have captured him and have been torturing him. So he is missing one of his arms and one of his legs. So he is in very, very bad shape. What always upset me about this game is that Big Boss gets the robotic arm, whereas Miller gets nothing, and it's never explained why. It's never said like, oh, Miller doesn't want any prosthetics. It's just Miller doesn't get it. So I always feel bad that, you know, the boss is walking around with his amazing prosthetics, which he has full control over, whereas Miller is just left with his missing arm. Another thing about Miller, which I can strongly relate to, is Miller has an eye condition, which makes him extremely sensitive to sunlight. That's why he's always wearing shades. I have the same condition, so sunlight for me, even on what most people would consider dull days, is all but blinding, which makes it even worse. So, yeah. So here we have Miller as we find him after being taken by the Taliban. Or, sorry, not the Taliban. They actually might be the Taliban, but they are the, at this point, they are the Mujahideen. So he has completely lost his right arm up to the shoulder, and he has lost his, he lost his right arm and his left leg, but the left leg appears to be below the knee, but he is full of anger and full of hate. So we can see how he is being tortured here, and we can see him with the sunglasses, because Venom Snake gives him his sunglasses when we rescue him. And there's a very famous speech between the two of them when they are flying back to headquarters. So, yeah, let's continue. So here is some concept art as well as standard art of Quiet. So this is Quiet here, in her standard uniform. So she has kind of ripped black leggings, free shoulders, her stomach and back are exposed, and her breasts are well, technically covered, just barely. And then here is how she appears in the game with her sniper rifle. She is mute for a reason we will get into later. So she doesn't speak, which just adds to the people of Mother Base not trusting her. So here we have some different outfits. So this is one of the outfits that you can unlock for Quiet. This is the one I was talking about earlier, where she is equipped like this, in a full-on combat uniform. While it's not lore accurate, you know, if she actually ended up wearing this in terms of the lore, she would probably suffocate. There's some more pictures and concept art of her here. This one, she has an Uzi. Here she has kind of like a long black hair, a shoulder-length black hair, loose with a dog. And this one, she is even more exposed, showing more skin, but with what appears to be an afro. Down here, there's some more pictures of Quiet. So this is some more concept art of her, one with shorter hair. But most importantly, and I will have to blur this out, is she has her breasts fully exposed in this picture. So I am going to have to blur this out so I do not get the YouTube ban hammer. But I mean, technically, as far as the lore goes, it makes sense. It's like, you know, modesty be damned. The woman wants to breathe, and you can't really blame her. And then here she is. This is looks like her sitting in the cell, which she is kept in at the beginning. Once she arrives in Mother Base, she's smoking a cigarette. I don't know if it's just me, but this face on quiet here reminds me a lot of Naomi Campbell from Metal Gear Solid 4. Maybe that's just me. Let me know what you guys think. I think she looks like Naomi in this picture. But I think the way she turned out is really, really good. And the actress who plays Quiet is perfect for the role. She captures the character as well as being both deadly and beautiful and all that in the same sense. So really, really cool. She also has this kind of eye pattern that appears whenever she enters like her sniper trance. So yeah, I'll stop gushing over Quiet and we can move on. Here is everyone's everyone's favorite traitor, Huey Emmerich. So this is the father of Hal Emmerich, aka Otacon. So he was part of the people we could recruit and save in Peace Walker for Metal Base. In Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. However, it comes to light that he is the one who organized the attack on Mother Base. And we end up recapturing him, and the people of Mother Base do not like him at all, to put it lightly. So he is unable to walk. However, he does have this device here which allows him to stand up straight and walk, which is really, really cool. I wish that the Metal Gear prosthetics existed in real life, because it would make things so much easier. This is a picture of the kind of apparatus that he wears around his legs. Very interesting. I can't really see the detailed mechanisms of it. Here's another picture here, and this is Hal being tied to a chair with his walking apparatus removed. So he is in deep trouble, because everyone believes that he sold them out, even though he did sell them out. And this man is a cold-blooded liar. Here we have Eli, aka Liquid Snake, as a young boy. So Liquid Snake is a clone of Big Boss. So he is one of his sons. So is along with Solid Snake and Solidus Snake. We find Eli in Africa, essentially being the leader of a pack of child soldiers. Some more pictures of Eli here with some of his knives and all that. He is a tough guy when it comes to children his own age, but the boss, on the other hand, does not take any shit. So the boss instantly puts him in his place over and over again. So here we have Code Talker, who is an essential NPC, or an essential character in Metal Gear Solid V. He is essentially the only one who knows about Skullface's plan and the vocal parasites. So we rescue him from where he is being held and bring him back to Mother Base, despite the XOF unit, the Skulls unit, doing their best to try and prevent that. Here's a little sketch picture down here of where Venom Snake first meets Code Talker, and Code Talker is essentially holding a pipe which he uses to smoke and hands it to Venom Snake, who obviously takes it and smokes since he is a big cigar fan. Next up, we have some of the buddies from Metal Gear Solid V. So the buddies are 4 different options. They offer different skills that you can unlock, as well as different outfits that you can unlock. You raise your buddy points by essentially using them more. So the more you use a buddy, the more they will gain extra costumes and extra abilities. So we start off here with D Horse. So he is the first buddy that we find in the game. Very useful for traveling long distances, especially if we choose an LZ that is far away from the objective, as well as being able to transport enemies. You were able to pick up enemies and throw them over the back of D-Horse and then sprint to the extraction. So very, very well designed buddy. We see him in some of his different outfits. So here is how he starts off in the game. And then we see him here in some more of the standard horse armor. We see some different helmets that he can wear. These are some similar concept arts. And I believe this is a skin called the Rage Corn. I believe that this is like an Easter egg or a special skin that you can unlock. I'm not sure if it's actually in the final game. I've never seen this one before, but it does look very, very cool. Next up is my personal favorite buddy in Metal Gear Solid V, and that is D-Dog, aka DD. Since the PMC is called Diamond Dogs, he is the official Diamond Dog. So, while not a dog per se, he is a wolf. We can find him in Afghanistan as a puppy, and we can extract him back to Mother Base. Or if you miss him in Afghanistan, we get him in right at the start of when we access Africa. So he has multiple different abilities, as well as having an eye patch due to having lost an eye. So it is kind of cool seeing, Venom Snake with his eye patch and then his wolf friend with the same eye patch. So we see some of the different costumes here. So this is how he starts off, kind of with nothing. Then we have 2 different combat techniques and gears here, and same with this one. So I might be mistaken, or I might get this mixed up. So I believe this armor set for DD gives you a stun baton that he can use, which he can essentially run at enemies, jump on them, hit them with the stun gun, the taser, and then they get knocked out. Whereas this version, he wields a knife, so he is able to quickly slit the throats of any enemies. Both are very good, but they are very dependent on playstyle. Since I always play non-lethal, I always go with the stun rod version of DD. And you can unlock different colors for him as well. You can have him as his standard gray, you can have him all white, all black, you can have him brown, and you can even have him look like a fox, which I believe is a reference to Foxhound. Down here is some more concept arts for him, as well as different concept arts of helmets or face gear for a dog. These look a lot more intimidating, and he is covered essentially completely. I'm not the biggest fan of these. I actually really like this design here. I think it's cool. You guys might not be able to see it, but he does have a little bit of like dog goggles on him, which is very, very cute and very, very funny. Next up is Paz. So this is Paz as she appears in Peace Walker. But there's also a little bit of a kind of side quest where we are able to get a notification that says, Paz is actually alive and we can go and visit her in the hospital room. And that's something that we'll get into more later. But this is how she appeared in Peace Walker. As you can see, the difference between this and how she appeared when she was being held captive is night and day. She's happy, she has long hair, very healthy young girl, but full of life, which is most important. And it's unfortunate what ended up happening to her and how much she changed in just that short period of time. Here we have our Diamond Dog standard soldier. So they have these green fatigues with gloves, with black boots and a black holster and a black belt, as well as a black mask. This is a kind of different balaclava type of mask. It has a nose slot, so people are actually able to breathe in them. I'm not sure if you have ever worn a balaclava in real life, but they're extremely hard to breathe through. So having this little bit of nose area is really good. These guys here look like kind of communications officers. And this man here looks to be some kind of scientist. So I believe this man here is part of the R&D division. Next up is the Man on Fire. So the Man on Fire is an enemy who is seemingly immortal. He is unable to sustain any damage. Any attacks that land on him, such as bullets, he shoots back at the enemies using force, and he is someone who constantly suffers throughout the game because he is constantly on fire. He reminds me of the protagonist of what's it called? Fire Punch. I believe it's Agni. It's been a while since I've read it. But this is actually Commander Volgan, General Volgan from Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. So he has been essentially resurrected into this fiery man who knows nothing but pain and suffering. This is him as he assaults the hospital where Venom Snake and Big Boss and Israel escape from. We see him with a child here, which is interesting. We'll discuss who this child is in a few pages. Here is that child. So this is Tretegy Rubenikov. So I probably mispronounced that name and I do apologize. So this is Psycho Mantis from Metal Gear Solid 1, however, much, much younger and as a child. But even though he is young, he is extremely powerful as a psychic, and much, much more. He can influence people's minds and all of that. If you know Psycho Mantis' backstory, he's a very tragic character. It doesn't excuse his actions, but yeah, and I think seeing him here as a child, knowing what he is going to end up becoming is very interesting, but also very, very sad. Here's some concept art of him here, and then here's some more pictures of him here. This concept art here is probably the closest to what we actually get in the final game. Okay, let's move on. I'm always trying to make sure I don't skip pages. So here is Skullface. Skullface is the main antagonist in Metal Gear Solid V. He was a man who used to work for Zero and essentially worked as cleanup duty for Big Boss throughout the series, specifically Metal Gear Solid 3, which we only find out about that through a data log that we can find and play in our Android's cassette player. So he is the reason, and his reason for wanting to create vocal cord parasites is to eradicate the English language, because his hometown was destroyed and his language was destroyed, and now he hates the English language with a passion. He has a very old Western look to him. He has a mask covering his eyes. He has like a nice brimmed hat, and he has like a very old-fashioned pistol. He's very he's a very well-spoken, eloquent man, and yeah, obviously he has a lot of resentment based on how people see him due to his appearance. The reason he looks like this is because of, I believe he was burned, which is awful. I was burned myself. I won't get into it too much, but it is awful. So I always resonate with characters who have been through the same in any kind of media. So this is the Skulls Mist type. So this is an enemy type that we find in the Skulls unit. These guys are one of the heavier types, as you can see by the armor and gear. I'm assuming that mist types means that they are the ones responsible for causing the mist when the Skull units show up. Very, very cool enemy concept art. The skull, the skulls are some of my favorite enemies to fight in all of the Metal Gear Solid games. A lot of the Metal Gear Solid games struggle with having bosses and supernatural enemies that feel very, very cartoonish, for want of a better term, whereas these guys actually look very menacing and threatening, so really, really cool. Next up, we have the Skulls Camo type. So these ladies here are all about sniping from a distance. They are expert shots. They are very similar to Quiet in terms of their photosynthesis, in terms of being able to breathe. So they have very similar clothing to her, which basically just means that they have a lot of exposed skin, translucent clothing, and as minimal armor as they can get away with, but they still make sure that they are tactically prepared for anything. So here is the Skulls Armor type unit. So this is the heavy of the Skulls unit. They are extremely fast, can cause spikes to come out of the ground, and are extremely heavily armored units. These guys are not to be taken lightly at all. So next up, we have just some general artwork of some characters. I believe these are all members of the Skulls unit. Won't go into too much detail as we've already covered them, but this is them. All the different types. As you can see, this is the guy that we just talked about, who has almost like this rock formation for armor. And I really like this concept art here of the Skull unit snipers. And both of these ladies have like this device over their eye, so I'm assuming that helps them zoom in and acquire targets. Here is just some miscellaneous artwork of more of these skulls. So we can see, I won't spend too much time on this, but we can see that these skulls, some of them carry swords. This picture here actually reminds me a lot of June, the book, and the recent Denis movies. This skull here has just been shot, and his blood is a very different color. Here we have an XOF soldier. So the XOF soldiers are Skullface's army. They are called XOF since it is Fox backwards. You guys probably could have inferred that, but they come in all types of stuff. They have different weapons, they have different gear, and yeah, it's really cool. One mechanic that I really like in Metal Gear Solid 5, V, is that enemies react to how you play. So, for example, if you do a bunch of missions and keep headshotting enemies, they will start wearing helmets. If you play missions only during the night, they will start carrying flashlights. And then you have to send some of your soldiers from Mother Base to go and destroy the factories where these are being used. So there's another one, I believe, that stops you from actually choking an enemy out, which is very cool. So it just makes it so even if you have a preferred way to play like I do, it makes it so the more you do it, the more they adapt and the more dangerous they become. Next up, we have some of the Soviet soldiers. So these are, apart from Skullface's guys, we have some of the Soviet soldiers who at this time period were invading Afghanistan. So won't spend too much time on these guys since they're just normal soldiers. You can see they have a bunch of different gear on them as well as different weapons. Some of them are very heavily armored. This guy is just in his tank top, smoking a cigarette, in his tactical pants. This image goes extremely hard. This is the Soviet soldier's best friend, the radio. And this is the CFA soldiers. I believe that these are the African soldiers. However, if I am wrong, I genuinely am truly sorry. That's just a guess that I kind of made. So same thing, won't spend too much time. This guy here looks like an officer. We have a bunch of the different enemy types or different models that we find. And then we have some concept art here of some different types of them. From very light to extremely light to heavily armored. So very cool. So this is the Rogue Coyote soldiers. So these guys kind of act like a little bit of mercenaries. Won't go into too much detail on them. Next is the Zero Risk Security soldiers. So these are some of the soldiers that we find guarding certain locations that are deemed to be of a high security risk. They come with riot shields and all sorts of stuff. I'm not spending too much time on these guys just since they're generic enemies. So here is the African child soldiers. We are assigned a mission to find and eliminate and kill them. However, boss goes against this and pretends to kill them to still get the payout, but ends up rescuing them and bringing them back to Mother Base, at which point Kaz instantly puts them to work. Kaz is Miller, by the way. His first name is Kazuhira, but most people just call him Kaz. So here we have Eli, and this is the band of child soldiers that he has become the leader of. In this circle, he is known as the White Mamba. And we also have Psycho Mantis here, as Psycho Mantis kind of forms a bond with young Eli. So it's interesting to see that these two knew each other when they were children. This gives a bit more context to the relationship in Metal Gear Solid 1. Some more of the African child soldiers down here. So here we have some prisoners. There were a couple missions in the game where we are told to rescue prisoners, either prisoners that are, have knowledge or our own soldiers from Diamond Dogs that have been taken prisoner, and this is them in their prisoner uniforms. Same thing down here, this man is blindfolded, so he does not know what's going on around him. This is the hospital staff. So at the beginning of the game, when we wake up from our coma, this is the doctor in Cyprus who first talks to us and helps us. He tells us about our injury, about how long we've been in a coma and all that. And eventually he dies due to Quiet strangling him with a garrote, trying to kill Big Boss. Because she was sent there as soon as as soon as it became known that Big Boss was awake, essentially the entire world sent assassins to try and kill him. Here are some more of the different patients in the hospital. Also, I believe the hospital is in Cyprus. If I am incorrect, I do apologize. And lastly, for the characters, we have Chico, unused. So this is obviously concept art for Chico. Maybe he would have been more grown up in this and acted a little bit more as a main soldier rather than a child soldier. However, as it says here, this was not used and implemented into the game. However, I do like his red robes. It's very, very cool and adds a little bit of well-needed color to the Metal Gear games. So next up is the machines. However, guys, this is where we are going to end the video for today, as it has been about an hour already. So thank you so much for watching this video. I am so excited to cover this book, and I hope you guys enjoy it even a fraction of the amount that I enjoy talking about it. So I will be continuing this book until it is over. I'm not sure if I'm gonna either go to sleep and then record more when I get up, or just keep on recording. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have been listening or watching while either trying to relax or go to sleep, I would click off the video now so that you do not get woken up by an ad. So I'll give you a few seconds to do so. So yeah, again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in part 2. And yeah, Crimson out. Have a good night or a good evening.